Yeah, I didn't get a drink. Oh well. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing the first vlog for the May the Force Read With You Readathon. So this is a month-long Star Wars-based readathon. I am going to be reading on the dark side, and I have many books to do for this readathon because it does last all month. I'll put a link to my original TBR right here if you're interested in checking that out. Don't know how many books I will get read per vlog, so I'm not going to tell you ahead of time. We'll just see what gets finished. As I said, I am reading for the dark side, and I have actually already finished a book for this readathon. I probably should have filmed an update earlier than this, but here we are. First book I read was for Rule of Two, and this was to read a book within a duology. I read Red Queen by Christina Henry, and that is the second book in the Chronicles of Alice duology. There are technically prequel novellas, but I'm not counting those because I haven't been able to find them anywhere. This story picks up where Alice left off. Alice and Hatcher, her partner, have now left the city, trying to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, and they are going on an adventure to attempt to find somebody. They end up encountering more magic than they did in the city, and it is a wild ride. Honestly, I really enjoyed this one for the world building aspect because one of the complaints I had in Alice was that I wish we had seen a bit more of the magic and had it been better explained to us, because for the most part, wasn't really ever told to us how it all worked. Did get more of it in this one. We actually got sort of a backstory behind magic and like why magic had sort of been eradicated in the city. I really appreciated all of that stuff, and I think it added to this world a lot. However, plot-wise, I felt as though this one was a lot slower than Alice. Alice kind of starts off with a jump right into the action, whereas this definitely takes a lot of time developing and building up to a final climax. Along with that, in the first book, Alice constantly has her companion Hatcher with her, whereas in this one, there's a fair amount of time where Alice is alone and she's kind of just stuck in her thoughts. I did think that was really interesting and kind of started to showcase that Alice really doesn't know who she is anymore without someone else, and she's sort of has to try and re-find herself and figure out what it is she wants once they manage through all this craziness that they're dealing with. I was not surprised that I loved the way Christina Henry revitalized Alice in Wonderland in the second book. I really appreciated what she did with the Red Queen and the White Queen specifically. Neither of those two characters had been established in the first book, so I was really happy that they kind of got the main focus in this one. We also saw some additional characters. For example, there were some giants who I'm fairly certain were supposed to be like a Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Was never specifically stated as such, but they kind of were reminiscent to those characters. Plus, we also got to see more of Cheshire, who I really liked in the first book. He is very morally gray compared to the other magicians in the first book, and kind of stuck true with that in this one as well. So according to the Cawpile breakdown, I gave it about a 3.7. I'll probably mark it as a 3.75 on Storygraph, but for my personal rating, I'll probably just put it at like 3.5 stars. I did enjoy this one. Just like I said, it was a lot slower than the first story, which kind of did take away some of my enjoyment because the first one was very like go, go, go. Okay, I gotta go get a drink. I'm already thirsty. So the next book I ended up starting was for Lightning, and the prompt for this one was a book that was under 350 pages, I believe. I picked up The Power by Naomi Alderman, and this is also a book club read for my Facebook book club, which I am a part of. When I looked this up on Storygraph, it was listed as 350 pages exactly. This copy that my library had is actually 382. It's over technically. This is a feminist sci-fi story in which girls in this world suddenly get the power to essentially send out electricity, and it becomes this whole discussion of whether they are a danger to society or not. It is very metaphorical to rape culture. There was one specific scene that really kind of made me chuckle where a woman was talking to the news reporters and was saying how she won't let her son go out after dark anymore because she has no idea what would happen if he ran into a group of girls. They might just decide to electrocute him for fun. I'm still a little confused about the layout of the story. It starts with a letter to the author, and it's as though she is commenting on the events in this story like she isn't the writer herself. When you start the book, it's a historical novel and it's a different author. So it's very, I guess it's a book within a book kind of situation. Along with that, the story is also divided up based on a certain number of years to go. So I think I am currently at 8 years to go. And then at those breaks, there are little drawings and comments discussing these different items, which are supposed to be prophesizing that the women were going to suddenly have this power. We are following multiple different people in this from across the world. We are following a young woman whose mother is killed in front of her and her father is some kind of a mob boss. We are also following a older woman who is the mayor of her town and her daughter has these powers. And then we are also following a young boy who is fascinated by the powers and records someone using them and posts it to YouTube and sort of ends up calling himself a journalist and starting to travel to record women using their powers. Weird, but I am liking it. I don't know how to feel about this one because I'm very intrigued by it, but I just don't have a lot of want to pick it up. Lately, I haven't felt the need to pick this up at any point. I haven't been sad that I didn't take the time to read it. Next, for I believe the 4th prompt on the dark side, which is seduction, I am actually reading a romance book, and that is People You Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is the book for the Sugar and Spice book club for the month, and I am co-hosting the discussion with Kirsten and Manda. I am so excited for it. This story is following Poppy, who is a vacation writer, and she used to go on vacation with her best friend Alex every summer until something happened 2 years ago where they had a big fight and haven't spoken since. Now, Poppy is starting to feel unsatisfied in her life and thinks that the last time she was truly happy was when she was on vacation with Alex. She ends up reaching out to him to see if they can go on one last vacation together and possibly try to restore their friendship and maybe get out of this rut she's fallen into. It alternates back and forth between the current summer as well as past summers, so we are starting to see how their friendship developed over time from when they first met their freshman year of college until possibly, I assume, that last vacation where they had a big fight. I am currently at 9 summers ago, so I've been really enjoying this one so far. Poppy is very eccentric and funky and just super individual, whereas Alex is pretty reserved and more calm and collected, but when he gets out of his shell, he can be kind of wacky and match Poppy's individualness. They have fantastic banter between the two of them. I really wasn't sure how I was going to feel seeing their friendship because friends to lovers isn't my favorite, but I think because they have a very teasing relationship, I don't mind it as much because, I don't know, it's more fun to follow. They're not just constantly being super sweet. I also do think the whole ex-best friend aspect makes it more interesting. Okay, so that is it for today. I probably will update you guys later when I've read some more. I am hoping to try and read more of People We Meet on Vacation today because I've just been really enjoying it. I was laughing a lot this morning. I'll talk to you later. Hey guys, so while it actually hasn't been that long, it feels as though it's been forever since I've done an update, but I have actually come to the decision that I think I'm going to temporarily DNF the power. I'm just really not enjoying this as much as I thought I would. Particularly, I think it's because there's not much plot going on. We're actually mostly just watching the fallout of women suddenly having this power. It doesn't seem as though we're really watching a specific story unfold. While I don't need a ton of plot, I either need plot or characters, and while the characters in this are interesting, I am not overly engaged with any of them. I can see certain aspects of each one that I do really enjoy, but I just feel like I haven't really bonded with any of them specifically. So I don't really care to see the ending for their stories. Really? Gotta go close the door. Along with that, I did go into this thinking it was going to be like a feminist sci-fi, and while in the beginning I do think there were more allegories and references to rape culture, specifically looking at how everybody was really up in arms when there was this very obvious imbalance between the two sexes because women now had this super powerful ability and there was suddenly this big push to separate kids when it came to school, to be much more aware of like what girls can do to boys and the danger they pose to them and things like that. That was really interesting and I liked that. And then with one of the specific characters, Margot, I really love seeing how she specifically. I really love seeing how she specifically is reacting and influencing other people's reactions because she's a mayor, so she actually has some political pull to try and help these girls. But now, unfortunately, it has kind of just started to seem as though it's the same terrible events that happen in our world are happening here, but now women are the aggressors. And it just feels like I could be watching the news if I wanted to see this kind of stuff, just, you know, again, with the sexes switched. Plus, with that point, there hasn't really been any commentary about that sort of portion, and I don't like that. Yeah, I really just haven't had the urge to pick this book up, unfortunately. And that's such a shame because I went into this very excited for it, but I'm mostly just kind of bored. I just haven't had the urge to pick this up for like the last 2 days, and I think at the halfway point now. So that's a shame. I feel as though by this point I should really be engaged, and I'm just not. Hi. Luckily, even though I DNF'd this book, I did have 2 neutral prompt possibilities that I could do, and that was 1 extra than the 5 I am required to have to hit the top rank of a Sith. I have an extra to replace this one. It'll just definitely change, but Faith just knocked over my little handheld tripod, so I think next up, I'm gonna start Lost in the Neverwoods by Ian Thomas. I think I'm gonna go there next, which was my pick for lightsaber, and that was a book that has your favorite color on the cover. I really love the blue shade that is on this cover, the purple blue shade specifically, like that combo that's happening here. Really love it. Okay, yeah, so that is it for now. I will give you guys an update when I have finished another book, started another book. Yeah, the power is really all I'm at right now. Hey guys, so please excuse the fact that I look gross right now. I honestly need to go take a shower, but I wanted to do a little update while I had time because I have now finished a second book, which was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and I really enjoyed this book. It was so cute. I don't think it quite lived up to Beach Read, but it was pretty close. So going into this, I was a little hesitant because it's a friends to lovers, and that's not really my preferred trope, but I actually really appreciated how she handled it because she had alternating timelines where we would initially see during the current summer, and then every other chapter usually we would see into one of these summers past, because the 2 best friends used to always go on vacation together every single summer. So we start out and we see the 11th summer, and then we work up until 2 summers ago, which is when they stopped talking. Because of that, it led to great character work because we really got to see the way their friendship developed over the years. Plus, it made the tension immaculate. It was so good. There was also plenty of angst, both like relationship and personal wise because of this. Again, I just really think Henry does an amazing job of creating such well-developed, fully fleshed out characters. I can easily see in my head and view them as real people because they seem and feel like real people. Something else this is so small, but I think it's great, is that she manages to work in her love of writing and books into both of her stories, and I just think that's so impressive, and I really appreciate that. I do think the story did kind of meander a little bit too much at times, and I kind of wish there was a little bit more steam in this. Even with that though, the romance overall was really well done. I really enjoyed taking this ride with these 2 characters. She did a fantastic job of really showing the flaws between them and then having them acknowledge said flaws and communicate with the other person about how that can affect their relationship. Apparently that's like a hot button for me and I love it. This also really just made me want to go on vacation because I was actually supposed to go travel to Dubrovnik this summer. That's one of the places they go, but my trip got canceled, so that was a little knife in the heart, but whatever. The atmosphere she creates in each location is also so distinct and unique from every previous one, and I think that's also really impressive because she pays so much attention to detail, and I just loved it. It like brings the setting to life in the story. Overall, I think this is like a perfect summer romance read. I read it early, but I could definitely see myself reading this while laying out by a pool or the beach or something, because it was just a great ride. It was a great book. I really loved it. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Definitely recommend this if you like romance. So as I said previously, I also picked up Lost in the Neverwoods. It is sitting over there. I probably should have grabbed it. Oh well. I am not far into it. I honestly barely started this afternoon. Whoops. Usually I read multiple books at a time, but I don't know why for this readathon, or maybe just this month, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go one at a time. I don't know why I thought that was a great idea because I have 11 books on my list, but here we are. Maybe I'll start doubling up eventually. Who knows? Hey guys and gals and non-binary pals. I am officially up to level 3 because I finished Lost in the Neverwoods by Ian Thomas today. I had conflicting feelings, and I'm not happy that I had conflicting feelings. First off, I don't think I ever gave you guys an official summary. So this is a Peter Pan retelling, and it is sort of magical realism set in urban fantasy kind of style, where we are following Wendy. She is now 18. When she was younger, she and her 2 younger brothers disappeared, and she came back, but they never did. Now, in her town, other kids are starting to disappear, and Wendy could never remember what happened to her, but she is certain that the kids disappearing are connected to her own case. First off, when I found out about this, I was really excited because it's a Peter Pan retelling, and that sounds really cool, very intrigued by it. Plus, I loved Ian Thomas's first book, Cemetery Boys, and when my friend was like, hey, is it cool if I choose this for our book club, I was so happy, but in the end, I had super mixed feelings, and I'm still trying to work through them. I guess let's start positive. First, I liked the writing in this. It's very digestible, it's really easy, it's very quick to read. It gives enough detail that you can easily create an image in your head, but it's not too much that it like bogs down the story. On top of that, this is kind of like a mystery fantasy, which I thought was a really interesting way to retell a Peter Pan story, so I was very intrigued and engaged throughout the story when it came to the mystery. Something else I really loved in this is actually how grief was handled. It's very realistic, particularly in Wendy as well as her parents. They all had so much depth in the fact that they each were dealing with their grief in very distinct and different ways. So I really appreciated the way it was showcased. Also, Wendy had some serious anxiety, and I liked the way it was represented here because we were never just flat out told she had anxiety. There were clues put in here and there that would lead you to that conclusion. Specifically, she had a tendency to overwash her hands, and I thought that was an interesting way to showcase that. I really liked that this took a dark turn at the climax because I wasn't really expecting it, given that majority of this book did kind of read on the younger side. Personally, I would have preferred if it had taken an even darker turn. Given how it read, I can forgive that. I think Christina Henry also has a Peter Pan retelling, and given that her Alice retelling was very horror based, maybe I should check that one out next. Also, the epilogue was really adorable. That made me very happy. Now on the other side, the stuff I didn't like. This moved really slowly. Like, the mystery was very meandering. Even though I was so intrigued to find out what was happening, it was like the characters, they were aware they needed to solve the mystery, but they didn't want to do the work to get there. That's kind of how it felt, because every time they'd talk about, well, we need to get on this, they'd do something else. That was weird. Also, as I said, this reads fairly young, but Wendy is supposed to be 18, and it didn't match. Like, she doesn't read like an 18-year-old. 16, I could say, like, that would be more forgivable. This just feels more like it's a younger YA / like older middle grade, particularly in how Peter is characterized. He is very childlike and pretty immature, which, you know, makes sense for it being Peter Pan. He's the boy who doesn't grow up. Along with that, this fact is kind of spoilery, but kind of not. If you're really concerned, I will put a timestamp on the screen so you can jump to that, and I will be past this. I really didn't like the romance in this. Some people really enjoyed it. I strongly did not, because again, Wendy is 18 and Peter is so immature and childlike that it just felt very odd that this 18-year-old was putting the moves on a guy who at times reminded me of a 10-year-old, and that just made me so uncomfortable. I don't care if at one point he is kind of described as being like looking 19. His mindset is not there, and that just was so weird to me. Did not like that. I really could have done without the romantic aspect of this. I understood how it was used, but it just felt creepy. Okay, now that we're out of that point. Finally, my other biggest issue was Wendy has a serious god complex, and it got very aggravating. Like, I understand survivor's guilt kind of thought process where she came back and her brothers didn't, and she doesn't know what happened to them, but she blames herself for every little thing to the point where it's just like, how could that possibly be your fault? Even when we finally get an answer, she's still like throwing herself down on her sword, and it's like, Why? What? How? What? I just didn't like that. It got annoying. In the end, there were certain things I really enjoyed, but there were other things I didn't. So I think I've decided to go with like a 3 stars on this because I liked it, but it definitely did not live up to Cemetery Boys at all, which is a shame. Okay, anyway. So next, I think I'm going to go into the second neutral prompt I have, which is Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria. And this is a arc I got from NetGalley. I believe this was for Telekinesis, a book that you think will move you. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. This is also a urban fantasy, and it is following 2 sisters who live in our world, except for they are training to become dragon fighters. But they both kind of end up on the opposite sides of an imposing war. It sort of sounded similar to How to Train Your Dragon. I've only gotten like 1 chapter in so far, but from what I can see, I believe Danny, who is the younger sister, is bisexual. And then in the second chapter, it seems like we are going to be in Eden's perspective, who is the older sister. Eden's kind of like the perfectionist and is always trying to do everything to the best of her ability, whereas Danny kind of just glides through, but she still manages to ace everything. You know those people. Everybody knows those people. Everybody hates those people. I'm gonna go to bed. Well, actually, I'll probably read some more. But I'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, so it is officially pushing into the 3rd week of March, and given that this is only supposed to be a vlog for the first half, I need to wrap this baby up. So thus far, I have gotten to about the halfway point in Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria, and I am enjoying this. I'm just not quite as enthralled as I thought I would be. It does read kind of like How to Train Your Dragon, honestly, except we have the dual perspectives, and it is in more of a modern setting. It seems as though the world is pretty normal, excluding the fact that there are dragons, there are dragon slayers, and there are sorcerers, as it has been revealed to us that sorcerers came from the magic that created dragons, possibly, and slayers and sorcerers are both trying to eradicate the world of dragons. Danny, who is the younger sister and is kind of like the family screw up, but she is actually always really perfect in all of her training, she ends up making a connection with a dragon named Nox, and then her sister Eden is trying to impress the sorcerers and possibly start working with them. So that's kind of where we're seeing them on the opposite sides of this ongoing war that's been taking place between the humans and the dragons. I definitely prefer reading from Danny's point of view, even though she isn't really my favorite character or anything. She kind of gets on my nerves. She definitely reads like a teenager. I certainly would probably be more on her side than I would Eden's. However, with that, I do think it was kind of odd that Danny kind of turned her back on everything she's been told her entire life sort of quickly. That was really weird. But at the same time, on Eden's side, I'm not really a big fan of the writing from her perspective. I don't know what it is. It just feels like it's a lot more description based in her chapters, whereas in Danny's it feels more dialogue. I don't know why that is. It could be a specific choice because Danny has more friends, whereas Eden's more alone a lot of the time. That might be why. Yeah, so I'm just not really a big fan of her chapters as much. Eden does, however, have some form of a mental illness. It is commented that she has a therapist as well as that she takes medication. It seems she might suffer from panic attacks. I am still enjoying this. I am planning to continue, but I've been reading a few chapters this morning and I just kind of decided that I'm probably going to take a break for a little bit. The 5th book that I have planned so that I can officially reach the top rank of Sith is Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. This is a reread for me. It is my nonfiction book for the month and I'm pretty excited to start it. It's very short, so I can blast through it fairly quickly. I was looking forward to getting to tab this up and I was kind of just thumbing through and realized that apparently the first time I read it, I actually highlighted, and I don't remember doing that. Even though technically speaking, we're supposed to finish the 5 books to reach our top rank first, I have actually started one of my companion novels, which is for Galactic Empire, and that was We Freed the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. The prompt for Galactic Empire is to read a book that is more than 500 pages. This is pushing 600, so I can assure you that I won't finish this prior to Fire with Fire and Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered. This baby is a chonker and I'm scared of big books. I can't talk a lot about this one because it is the 2nd book in a duology, but I am about 100 pages in and I've been in enjoying it. Ironically, with this one, as well as Fire with Fire, there is one character who has two voices going on in their head. It's so ironic that that's a thing in both of these books. Along with that, I just love the romance aspect of this story. It's so slow burn, the tension, fantastic. Oh, I love it so much. I just need more of it, even though there's so much other stuff happening that has me equally engaged and lasting through. I didn't want to go to bed last night because I wanted to keep pushing, but I knew that wasn't a good idea. Okay, so as I said, we're gonna close this vlog out. Once I have officially posted the second one, I will put a link to that in the cards over there. Go check it out. As always, thank you so much for coming to my channel today, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Bye!